Hello, and thank you for joining us for our COVID update. My name is Kelly Smith, and I serve as a program analyst for military community support programs. I am super excited to be joined today by Dr. Anna Keller. Hi, Dr. Keller, how are you?
Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Anna Keller. I am an active duty Navy psychologist currently serving with Marine Forces Reserve.
Wonderful to have you here. Today, we are going to be talking about coping with grief in the pandemic. And it might sound weird for me to say this, but I am really passionate about this topic because I've seen its impact on others and have personally been affected by it in different ways. We know that the coronavirus has changed people's lives in many ways. In addition to feeling grief over the loss of life caused by COVID-19, people are still likely grieving the loss of their normal routine. I know that I am personally. And this, as we were talking before the start of this event, this is an interesting topic right now because some people see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some states are easing their restrictions by, without mask mandates. Some schools are opening. There's a sense of normalcy. But in some places, those restrictions are still there. But something that I know for sure is that regardless of where someone may be with their coronavirus experience, I think it's safe to say that everyone's mental well-being has been impacted. With the work that you do, Dr. Keller, what have you seen with regards to the impact of COVID-19 on mental well-being?
So I think we're all experiencing this collective sense of discomfort. And I think it's really important to name that feeling that we're experiencing. And I believe that it's grief. Like you said, Kelly, we've all experienced some form of loss during this pandemic, whether that be the loss, the actual death of a loved one, or whether that just be a loss of our sense of safety, a loss of our social connections, a loss of financial security, the way our children, have been educated. We're also experiencing psychological loss. So, a loss of a sense of control, of predictability. And for many of us, a loss of our sense of self, trying to figure out who we are during this pandemic. So I think that we're all collectively grieving during this pandemic, Kelly.
Efforts to prevent the spread of coronavirus have affected people's jobs, where people work, the way that kids go to school, they play, the ability to gather and be with friends and family. And, these measures to keep people safe have also impacted how we shop. I know I am on Amazon regularly and other online shopping platforms, how people worship, exercise, how they seek entertainment. And I know a big thing when all of this started around this time last year was the ability to celebrate holidays and special events. And like you said, this has had a major psychological impact on people, that sense of safety and predictability and control and freedom. But something I think that people really struggled with, and people, that's me, is the loss of routine and why that's so upsetting. And you think, well, especially within our military community, that we are flexible, we adapt, as things change. But do you have any thoughts on why this loss of routine and normalcy has been so upsetting for many people during this time?
That's a great question, Kelly. I think anytime that we experience a loss of our sense of control, it's discomforting. And so I think, part of the way that we like to control our lives is we set a schedule, we set a routine, our children have a schedule and a routine. And, now from day to day, we don't know, if our kids' schools are going to be open or, if our favorite restaurant will allow us in. And so it's upsetting because that sense of predictability and control is gone. But what I want to offer to our viewers is a sense of encouragement and that really during this time, really try to focus on the things that you can control. So what I would offer is setting small goals, for yourself. So setting small, realistic goals, whether that be, workout goals, nutrition goals, or even, education goals, but just goals that you can control, and that you can achieve, because I think that will all kind of help give us a sense of normalcy during this time.
Those are some great tips, Dr. Keller. Something else that comes to mind with me in figuring out or dealing with grief during this time, I'm not sure how to say this, is really, and I believe you might have said, is really paying attention to your feelings. I know that may be harder for some folks than others, but in doing that, really allowing yourself and others a space for grace and kindness. I know for me personally, and those that are close to me, you really pride yourself, and I get this within the military, on being able to like bounce back and be super resilient. And I know that we are, but it's not always like peaches and cream. It's not always unicorns and rainbows. It's not always wonderful, especially right now. And so it's okay to be in that space, but if you find it hard to bounce back and be okay with things, if you're not able to name those feelings and sit with those feelings, do you have any resources that you can recommend, or suggestions that you may have for folks that when it's time for them to reach out for help outside of themselves or outside of their support network?
So I want to double down on something you said, Kelly, because it's really important. I want people to know that grieving is normal. It's encouraged, and it's part of the healing process. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel confused right now. I think the most important thing is that we allow ourselves to genuinely feel whatever emotion that we have, because that's part of the healing process, and that's part of how we grow and we overcome. And I also want to remind people that it's also okay to feel happy, and it's okay to feel excited, and it's okay to, feel hopeful during this time as well. And as you said, most of us are very resilient, and, I'm confident that we will bounce back and we will overcome in due time. However, some of us are struggling. One of the things that I encourage people to do is tell your story of triumph. We hear so often about, the struggles and, how people are really suffering right now. I encourage you to talk about how you overcame, like how you managed to homeschool your 7-year-old and your 4-year-old while teleworking at the same time. Talk about how you've adapted, journal, this is a time capsule, write about your experiences. This is history. Also, kind of how we touched on before, let go of what you cannot control. There's so many things, going on right now that we cannot control. So again, focus on the small goal setting. Also remembering that, we're all collectively grieving. So, people are a little bit, more irritable lately. People may be a little bit more snappy or on edge. Remember, you're not responsible for other people's feelings. So show compassion always. We're all grieving. So you talked about, resources and when to seek help. Again, feeling sad is completely normal. However, if you find that more days than not, you feel overwhelmed and overcome by sadness, more days than not, you're having crying spells, you have decreased appetite and weight loss, without trying. You notice changes in your sleeping pattern or increased irritability more days than not. Those are all indicators that maybe it's time to seek help from a licensed mental health professional. And of course, if you ever are having thoughts of suicide, obviously, you need to seek help emergently. Some resources, again, I'm big on social connection. It's still very important. So I encourage people, hey, join a virtual support group, a book club. Make sure that you're still texting your friends, calling your family members, make sure that you're still staying connected. If you do believe in a higher power, making sure that you're staying connected spiritually. If you do not, have a religious belief, make sure that you're staying connected to nature or anything practice that you have. There's so many apps out there. I'm going to throw a plug in for the USMC Connect app that I talked about when I was on here last. Lots of resources contained on that app for just basic resiliency. The Military One Source app, I'll throw in a plug for that as well, a great app that contains additional resources for your mental, physical, and spiritual health. And so the bottom line is that we just need to stay connected and utilize technology and the resources that are available to us.
Dr. Keller, you shared so many wonderful nuggets there. I wanted to stop and take notes, but I have to remember that I'm here on live with you. But so many great tips in normalizing what folks are going through. And I want to give one more additional plug for a resource. And you said, for folks to connect with a licensed professional. And if you're watching and you're not sure of where to start with that, you can always call Military One Source. That number is 1-800-342-9647. And one of the consultants there would gladly connect you with a provider, whether that's a non-medical counselor through Military One Source, through the Military and Family Life Counseling Program, at your installation, or out in the community where you live. There are folks that are ready to assist and help. But those tips, Dr. Keller, that you shared with, writing stuff down, enjoying nature, tapping into your higher power, those are things that can help you with day-to-day experience of moving through that process of grief that some folks are experiencing. So I truly appreciate the information that you have shared, and I will make a note to check out the app that you mentioned. So thank you for that. I believe our time is just about up. Is there any last bits of information that you'd like to share, Dr. Keller?
So I'll just leave our viewers with, it's just so important to make sure that you are regaining your sense of self and just, using this time to just relearn who you are. Because I just hear so often from my clients about just, how their sense of self has just been shaken during this time. So I just encourage everybody to use this time to just, figure out your likes and dislikes and really just try to stay connected the best that you can. But again, we're resilient, we're going to bounce back, and we all are going to overcome from this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Keller. I hope everyone has a great day. Take care.